Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another video. We're taking the EZA Fizz Super Trunks this time into the legendary GT Goku event. So his final test in kind of the longer events before we do take him into ESPR. But as I mentioned in not yesterday's video, I think I uploaded it this morning. Whenever it was, taking the strength version of the Super Trunks into the Vegeta event, that's probably gonna be the Fizz one's kind of playground compared to this one. But you know, we took him into the Vegeta event. The Fizz one actually done really well. You know, having about 180k to 200k defense, pretty much every rotation consistently linked up to the tech transforming Trunks from the Goku Black Arc. Really works well with him. You know, with Trunks stacking, you kind of don't have to worry about the EZA Fizz one. Again, especially having like 180k to 200k defense. And I have to say, I didn't expect him to do so well in the GT Goku event as well, considering how much damage some of the phases in the GT Goku event can actually do, especially on Super. But I have to say, he thoroughly impressed me once again. I've already held my hands up and said that I got it not completely wrong. I kind of was a little bit harsh and kind of ran with it in terms of just like making jokes, but I have to put my hands up and say this EZA actually exceeded my expectations. I thought just an EZA with attack and defense plus 200% wasn't really going to do a whole lot. And even though it's not the most flashy EZA, even though it's not the most OP, it's not the most insane, you know, we're not sitting there going like, you know, being like, oh, it's one of the best in the game. It does the job. It does exactly what it says on the tin. I mean, literally, attack and defense plus 200%, raises attack and defense on Super. It works. It works. Decent damage throughout, you know, the early phases of the Goku event, you know, considering Goku doesn't have that much defense and that health at that point. He's putting out decent damage. Again, just over 2 million attack stat every single time. Of course, the strength one is a bit more, you know, lent towards, you know, offense, where this one's more defense, which is why he actually works so well in the longer events like Vegeta event and now GT Goku event. But consistently putting out just over 2 million attack stats, slightly less than the strength counterpart. As you see there, 2.3 million. I said in the early phases, he can do some decent damage. He does some alright damage, especially if you crit, he actually puts out some good numbers. As you start to get deeper in, probably, as you saw, he only done like just shy of 900k there. Probably from this phase onwards, which is quite early on, but again, if you're hitting a crit, he can put out some solid numbers. They are respectable considering the caliber of unit he is. From about the SSJ2 phase onwards, apart from, of course, the first SSJ4 phase, because that's where he has type advantage, and of course, that's where he's really going to shine, especially with like 180 to 200k defense. He literally takes no damage on that phase. Tanks Super as well, or actually, I don't think he took a Super, but could obviously tank Super as well, especially after supering, raising his attack and defense. You know, he's good to go. You even see in there, double digits on a basic. He actually gets supered by this Goku. He does take 152k damage, but that's actually not bad. Again, for the caliber of unit, that's actually tanking quite well. There are actually some units that can be caught out by the SSJ3 phase on a Super, because that's when the damage starts to kind of pick up a little bit before, you know, you hit the ridiculous heights of, you know, the Great Ape. But yeah, for the most part, his damage does start to drop off quite quickly unless you're hitting crits, which is a given again, because it's the more defensive version of the two Trunkses. But yeah, other than that, he is very consistent in his defense. Again, as long as you're supering first, you're guaranteed to tank double digits on a basic, even prior to that. Definitely in the early phases, he tanks double digits on a basic prior to supering, because again, he has very nice defense. Again, 180 to 200k defense each rotation consistently. Once he super attacks, so in slot 2, slot 3, of course, we had him in slot 2 because the video's about him, so we had to have him on main rotation. Once he supers, you're guaranteed to take double digits on basic attacks. I'm pretty sure, remembering rightly, because I literally only done this last night, on every phase, which on the GT Goku event itself, you know, being quite considerably harder than the Vegeta event and the original Goku event, in my opinion, is quite impressive. Like, even on this phase, on this phase, I didn't even use an item. See, prior to Super Ring, he has 180k defense. His attack stats actually sitting quite... Oh, no, okay, I did use an item. Okay. I was definitely careful, because of course he has type disadvantage here, so this one's a huge risk, especially if you get super attack, considering how much the Great Ape Goku can do. But on every single phase, apart from this one, on a basic attack, once he supers, you'll still take consistent double-digit damage. Which, as I said, in my opinion, is actually really impressive. Like, really, really impressive. Again, considering how much more damage the GT Goku event can do compared to the Vegeta event. See, there I know we had an item active, but even still, the fact he only took 12 damage, again, still quite impressive to me. And as you saw on the crit, he still hit for 1.4 million. So if you do have dupes in him and you are hitting crits, he can put out some decent numbers. But if you're not hitting crits, his damage does start to drop off quite a lot quicker compared to the Vegeta event in the GT Goku event. That is one thing I did notice. But as I mentioned before, and which is why I love EZAs in Dokkan, like, I actually love them. Yes, you have some of the old and gold units, like the Year 3 LRs eventually going to get an EZA, probably going to be the best EZAs in the game. Jesus. But yeah, the best EZAs in the game. Then you got the Dokkan Fest that are out from like a few years ago, where you're like, he's going to get an EZA, or he did get an EZA, for example, like Hit, and of course they're going to revive them. The Dokkan Fest are typically very good. The old LRs, Strength Broly, Majin Vegeta, Goku Black and Zamasu, eventually when they get theirs, are probably going to be insane. You know, the Dokkan Fest, the LRs, those type of units, even before they get their EZAs, you know they're going to be insane. Even when they get their EZAs as well, you're still quite shocked about how good they actually are, even though you know they're probably going to be good. There's a few anomalies in there, LR Gohan being the one. You know, typically with EZAs, you know, with those type of units, you know most of them are going to be so good. Like, they're literally revived. Units that were out in 2016, 2017, 2018 are going to be brought back, and they're now usable again in 2021 and now 2022 Dokkan. And that's almost a given. But then you have these units, these general pool units, not even sideband units, general pool units that have been in the game for so long, who have hardly ever been usable. Let alone Dokkan Fest and LRs who dropped back in the day, who everyone wanted and were good, and then EZAs bring them back into current meta of Dokkan. But then you have EZAs like these two Super Trunkses, and they were hardly ever usable. You give them an EZA, bang, all of a sudden they're viable. They're viable to run in some of the harder events in the games where you never would have considered them even getting close to any possible team you can run them on. And let's not forget as well, both of these Super Trunkses can be run on a plethora of categories. As long as you link them with another Trunks unit, they're kind of good to go in terms of links. And again, it's also another Trunks unit you link them with. As long as it doesn't share the same name, they will go on a plethora of categories with another Super Saiyan Trunks unit they can link to. But that is the beauty of EZAs and why I love EZAs so much. It's just these units will probably, I think from off the top of my head, I don't think these two Super Trunks is specific to this example, because that's what we're using today, were ever probably usable. Ever. I mean, for example, this one only had, you know, they only got Disable Guard on their EZA. This one literally only had, I think, on his, had his flat passive, which back in the day wasn't that good. And then got the, and then has the weakened regeneration, which I've already stated, and that still applies even on the EZA. It is quite useless because it's only applicable to like literally one event in the entire game, which is literally a Dokkan event, which is very useless because Dokkan events are easy. Like, they've been easy for the last like 3-4 years. But prior to EZAing, he literally had Ki plus 4 and attack plus 60% and weakens regeneration, which again, kind of ignore that because it's useless, because it literally applies to the horrific Cell Games event and stops Cell's regeneration, or weakens it, shall I say. But yeah, he literally only got Ki plus 4 and attack plus 60%. Granted, he did raise attack for 3 turns on Super, but no defense. And as I said, I guarantee you back in the day, and this applies to both Super Trunkses prior to EZAing, they would have not got anywhere close to any of the teams that you would run them on, especially on the harder events back in the game. To be fair, there weren't many, but you wouldn't have even taken them into like Infinite Dragon Ball History, or what's the old one called? Boss Rush. You wouldn't have even taken them in there. Unless you had the bare minimum of units on a certain team these two would have gone on, they wouldn't have even got close. You would have used them if you really needed to. And that is literally if, again, you're lacking units heavily, which back in the day, of course, with no gold coin, no guaranteed featured unit, you know, all this stuff, you know, you would have done it, but you would have done it just because you had to. As I said, with EZAs, units like this, who are kind of almost forgotten about and just there to kind of, a lot of us probably have rainbowed or have all the dupe paths open, but haven't fed orbs in because we're not going to use them. With EZAs, this Trunks is now usable. He is now a viable option on quite a few categories he goes on. And we've proven in 2 videos, he can go into the harder events and hold his own. Yes, he's not going to be doing ridiculous amounts of damage. His damage does drop off quite quickly. Of course, he is the more defensive option, but even so, their damage is not going to be on the same level as other units in the game. That's just that's a given. But defensively, especially on a super attack in slot 2 and slot 3, this guy tanks for double digits on everything, and once he supers, can tank a super attack quite well. He won't get you one shot, he won't get you killed, unless you're going into the rotation with like really low health. So fair play, this EZA is actually really nice. I can't wait to try the other one in the SBR, that's probably where he's going to shine. Let me know what you think of him down in the comments. I think this EZA is pretty good considering it's not the most flashy. But I'll see you next video, guys, and peace.